Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com and A&R director of Tinnitus Classics. And it's in this last capacity that I come to you today to announce an absolutely stunning new release, the most authentic ever version of Beethoven's Fifth Symphony. And we were led to make this recording because of the recent atrocious release of Beethoven's Eroica and Coriolan Overture by Ensemble Cristofori, led by Arthur Schnickerdoodle on AV Records, because it has become abundantly clear to us that the period instrument movement is no longer interested in using the scholarly apparatus of historically informed performance technique to serve the ideal desires of the composer. No. They're not interested in that at all. What they're in the business of doing is historical recreations. You know, like those cute little, like Sturbridge Village, those cute little, go visit the colonial village to see how people made pewter. That kind of stuff. Authenticity of artistic performance is completely irrelevant, totally meaningless. What these people want to do is simply find a historical circumstance, no matter how bizarre or how anti-musical, and do that, and reproduce that, and sell it as though it has some kind of authenticity. I mean, it's just absurd. And it's particularly ridiculous when you realize that what they're doing is wholly speculative. And the fact of the matter is, it's possible to do it with exceptional historical precision. And so we at Tinnitus Classics said to ourselves, we can do this better than these people. They're amateurs. They haven't a clue at what it means to be historically authentic, and we have the scholarly and technical apparatus to really do it justice. And so I got together with Musica Urethra, our fabulous early music ensemble, and here they are. There they are at what we called the Last Supper. That was the gala celebration approximately 90 days before the recording sessions for this particular release. And of course, the reason that we had to have that dinner 90 days before the release is because, as you will see, historical authenticity demanded it. Absolutely demanded it. And we were determined to do exactly justice, not to Beethoven, I don't care about Beethoven, to the event, to the historical moment. And when was that moment? Well, Beethoven's Fifth was premiered on December 22nd, 1808, in circumstances that are extremely well known. It was a mega concert. It was a Beethoven benefit. The concert featured the Pastoral Symphony and the Fourth Piano Concerto and the aria A Perfido, and there was an intermission, and then they did, not necessarily in that order, and then they did the Fifth Symphony and a piano improvisation by Beethoven and the choral fantasy, and as a bonbon in between all that, Beethoven interspersed movements, the Gloria and the Sanctus and Benedictus of his C major Mass. Because, well, why not? These were all effectively public premieres, and what an event that must have been. But the most important thing to note about that event is that, aside from the fact that ticket sales were lousy, is that the heating apparatus in the hall broke down. And so it was freezingly cold, frigidly cold. And this is an incredible historical fact that no period instrument ensemble has taken into account thus far in performing Beethoven's Fifth Symphony, because what really matters in terms of the sonority of the actual work, in terms of how it must have sounded at its creation, was not gut strings, was not valveless trumpets, was not calfskin-headed timpani played with wooden sticks. No! It was the temperature. And no one has yet duplicated that temperature, because everybody knows that musical instruments sound very, very different when they're very, very cold than they do when they're nice and toasty and performed under optimal conditions, as all of today's period instrument ensembles do. They are such lazy people. They are so uncurious. They're so finicky, so namby-pamby, and their demands to always have everything exactly perfect for their wonderful little instruments. No! That isn't the way it happened at all. What happened is that they were all freezing their asses off. And so, the intrepid performers of Musica Urethra, for a little extra pay, have decided to perform Beethoven's Fifth and record it exactly as it was the day of its premiere, in an absolutely freezing hall, with the instruments played incredibly cold after only one rehearsal. That was it, in self-same hall, by the way. So this led to a really interesting question, which is, where do we play this thing? Where can we do it? I suppose we could have made the recording in the winter, but no, we made this recording in June. And unfortunately, it's in process now. The recording will be coming out in a couple of months, so I can't play it for you, but you can only imagine what it's going to sound like. And we realized some unbelievably fascinating things as we did it. We realized, first of all, that vibrato was never going to be an issue, because when it's that cold, there's lots of vibrato everywhere. The musicians were shivering, especially the string players. So obviously Beethoven intended that there must be much, much vibrato in the tone of his instruments, particularly the strings. But beyond that, we found the perfect venue. And here it is. I have a photo of it for you. There we go. This is Moe's Slaughterhouse in the old meatpacking district of Tribeca, and it's absolutely ideal. Not only does it have a perfectly superb acoustic, especially when it's, fully populated, as you can see. But beyond that, it is completely temperature controlled and hermetically sealed. And so it was the perfect place for our performance of Beethoven's Fifth, once we'd sort of swept the floor and, gotten some of the blood up. But in any case, that's where the recording was made. And what a fantastic opportunity it was. The musicians of Musica Urethra will certainly never forget the experience. And in addition, there was more. The reason we had the Last Supper 90 days before is because this is the first and only Beethoven recording on period instruments to come with a scratch and sniff booklet. The odor being unwashed Viennese musician fed on a diet of root vegetables and cabbage for 90 days before the performance. That is all that they were permitted to eat, because we all know musicians were not the well-fed fat slobs that we see today. They weren't vegans and vegetarians and these elite, oh, so morally superior beings who think that they are God's gift to the arts. No, not hardly. They were poor, sweaty, starving, underpaid. I mean, there wasn't a complete set of teeth among the whole orchestra anywhere. And it was winter, so they were eating cabbage, they were eating turnips and rutabagas. That's what they had to eat. And of course, they were forbidden. The musicians of Musica Urethra were forbidden to use deodorant or toilet paper or any modern conveniences before they came to that freezing hall to perform Beethoven's Fifth Symphony. And let me tell you, I promise you, you have never heard anything like the sound of this symphony when played in a freezing hall with starving musicians who have had nothing but cabbages and root vegetables to eat for 90 days and who have not had the advantage of bathing. It makes all the difference in the world to the historical authenticity of the resulting performance. I am absolutely sure that you'll agree. And so I'm extremely excited, incredibly honored to be able to present this detailed historical reproduction to you coming in the next couple of months. And I think it's going to be absolutely amazing. I know it's going to be amazing. I'm absolutely positive that there will never be another recording like it, particularly because the musicians of Musica Urethra swore that there would never be another recording even remotely like it in their own careers. And frankly, who could blame them? It was a one-shot event. We were very, very lucky that we had the microphones ready. But one thing I do have to advise you, we used a radical new technology in making this recording. We used thermophonics. This is the first compact disc to take advantage of thermophonic technology. It will not play at any temperature above 0 Celsius, 32 degrees Fahrenheit. It has a built-in microchip which immediately places itself in its surroundings. It takes advantage of its ability to detect temperature. So if you want to listen to it, you are going to have to place yourself in the correct historical environment and make sure that the temperature does not rise above the freezing point. If it does, no music. And that, I think, is only fair, because if the musicians had to do it, so should you. Now, whether you decide to stop bathing and to live on a diet of cabbage and root vegetables for 90 days before listening in your 32 degree or 0 degree Celsius centigrade, whatever you call it, over there in Europe and those other places, in that listening room of yours, well, that's your choice. You get to pick. And so it may not be as authentic an experience as it was for that audience in Beethoven's day, but we have spared no expense and left no stone unturned in bringing you the most authentic ever version of Beethoven's Fifth Symphony. And I challenge any one of those other phony soi-disant period instrument ensembles out there to do anything like us. We are the kings of authenticity. That's Musica Urethra on Tinnitus Classics. And I know you're going to be looking forward to this fantastic new release. It is a privilege and a pleasure for me to announce it to you today. So keep on listening, folks. Take care.